Dubai still lights up every night. The Burj Khalifa still shines brightly and the shopping malls remain dazzling. But there is one thing that the Instagram camera can never capture. Dubai is gradually becoming empty. Taxi drivers sit waiting for hours in despair. The restaurant offered a 50% discount, but the tables remained empty. Many employees are facing unemployment. So, what is really happening in the Golden City? This is not a typical economic recession, nor is it due to recent confrontations. This is something more dangerous, a silent fracture from within. The wave of people leaving is reaching record levels, and the real reason behind tourists losing interest will send shivers down your spine. A longtime resident left a bitter comment: "Dubai is not a city. It's an exclusive club, and we are forced off the membership list." Let's uncover the truth behind those skyscrapers. Dubai is not a city that developed naturally. It is an imposition of human will on the harsh nature. Where once there were endless sand dunes scorched by the harsh sun, now there are steel and glass structures reaching straight up to the heavens. Here, the laws of physics seem to be merely a suggestion. A city without rivers but possessing winding canals, without forests but creating air-conditioned forests cool in the heart of the firestorm. The palm-shaped islands extending into the sea are like a giant fingerprint of ambition, a proud declaration that, if God does not grant it, we will build it ourselves. From 2010 to 2019, Dubai made a miraculous leap, transforming itself from a stopover for oil into a sanctuary of consumerism. Shopping is no longer a transaction. It is a performance. Shopping malls are mazes of luxury, where people get lost in the scent of agarwood and the dazzling light of pure gold. Cuisine is no longer just about taste. Luxurious Friday brunches have become a ritual of social stratification. There, people don't just eat, they perform the role of winners in the game of life. Architecture is no longer a place of residence. Each apartment on the higher floors of Burj Khalifa is a certificate of status. At that height, the sounds of the world below are silenced, leaving only the silence of power. But every dream has its price. Dubai operates like a Swiss watch, coldly precise. It categorizes the world into separate compartments. The living, the elite class, those who enjoy all the privileges of a tax-free paradise. The servants, the silent army from South Asia, Southeast Asia, those who built the wonders but have never truly touched them. Those who do not belong, the temporary residents, the wandering souls always burdened by the worry of an expiring visa. Dubai is a magnificent stage, but behind the scenes, it is filled with people holding scripts who never get a role. When the cost of maintaining perfection becomes too expensive, the gilding starts to peel. The question is no longer how high Dubai can build, but rather who will pay for that height. When long-term residents, those who truly make the city pulse, start packing their bags because they can no longer bear the cost of living, Dubai faces an identity crisis. If those who live there still feel out of place, what will visitors who come for a few days find other than a glitzy emptiness? The change has begun. A city built on money can collapse when the flow of capital shifts. Dubai is at a crossroads. Either it becomes a true community with a beating heart, or it remains forever an illusory oasis, looking magnificent from afar, but vanishing the moment you try to touch it in search of a genuine connection. There is a very uncomfortable truth creeping through the glossy avenues of Dubai. The city never stops, but the flow of people does. Imagine you step into Dubai Mall, a symbol of global consumer power. The LED lights are still dazzling, the marble floors are still polished to the point of being reflective, and the stores of the world's most luxurious fashion houses still stand there like eternal museums. Everything is still perfect, except for one detail: the silence. A longtime resident shared, "I walked in, everything was still open and welcoming, but the emptiness of the space was strangely unsettling. It's not the stores that have disappeared, nor the architecture that has crumbled, but its soul, the people, are gradually fading away." And this is a reality happening quietly. Waiting taxis. The line of limousines and characteristic yellow taxis still runs on the roads, but at the waiting points, drivers sit motionless for hours, their eyes glued to the empty waiting lounges. The empty luxury matchboxes, the five-star hotels still operate with absolute service standards, but the rooms that once operated at 80% -90% capacity now quietly sink into darkness when night falls. Sparse flights. The runway of Dubai International Airport is still busy, but the number of empty seats on each flight is starting to increase. Dubai used to be a marvel of optimization, a perfect global transit hub, an open visa policy, and sophisticatedly packaged luxury experiences. It was designed to never have the concept of empty. But now, a crack in trust is emerging. As the cost of living rises and experiences once considered unique become repetitive and predictable, the tide begins to turn. As a bitter comment on social media put it, Dubai is still as beautiful as an Instagram photo, but it no longer feels like a reality that people can touch. What is leaving first? Are tourists simply looking for a new destination, or is the belief in a never-sleeping paradise gradually fading? If a city built on the philosophy of always being more crowded than yesterday starts to become deserted, then it's not just an economic issue, it is a sign of a deeper structural fracture. To understand why the people are turning their backs, we must look at a harsh reality that the gilded facade can no longer conceal. The cost of maintaining existence in this dream has exceeded the affordability of reality. Dubai is facing a daunting challenge: how to retain the warmth of humanity in a city built entirely on numbers and boundless ambition. There is a simple yet harsh truth enveloping the skyscrapers. Dubai does not become difficult to live in due to a lack of opportunities. It has become difficult to live because the cost of existence has far exceeded the value of effort. In less than 3 years, rental prices in many areas have skyrocketed by more than 40%. This number on the chart is just a straight line going up, but in real life, it is a knife cut into hope. Imagine, you still do that job, still sit in that position, the salary remains the same. But every morning you wake up, you find yourself a little poorer. The life equation you once calculated meticulously upon arriving here has been altered by a new variable called inflation of luxury. Dubai sells the world a glittering promise, a tax-free paradise. But in reality, there is another tax, nameless but much more ruthless. As one resident exclaimed, "They don't need to tax your pocket. They just need to make the air you breathe expensive." As one resident exclaimed, "They don't need to tax your pocket. They just need to make the air you breathe expensive." This is a silent purge. This is a silent purge. The city doesn't drive you away with administrative orders. It drives you away with service bills, with the dancing numbers on the rental contracts, and with the exorbitant prices of the most basic needs. Let's look at a typical middle-class family here. 2 incomes, 2 children. Rent takes up the majority of the income. Education, a huge expense, almost swallowing up the rest. Future, plans for saving, buying a house in their hometown, or luxurious trips that were once specialties of Dubai, have now become concepts of luxury goods. The system around them has fundamentally changed. Dubai, once a land to build a life, has turned into a place merely to maintain presence. You no longer live to grow. You live to avoid being thrown out of the cycle of an excessively expensive machine. This creates a bitter paradox. The city is becoming richer, the towers are rising higher, but the people inside it are becoming poorer in terms of choices. They may still have enough money to eat, to wear, to survive, but they no longer have the ability to truly live. They lose the freedom to dream of a stable tomorrow. And when the equation is no longer balanced, people will take the most reasonable action: leave. They leave quietly, without protests, without headlines. They simply pack their bags, return the keys, and vanished from the system. The cracks do not come from seismic tremors, but from the quiet departure of those who once believed in the promise of the desert. But here lies the bigger question. When the city's operators, from engineers, teachers to service staff, can no longer afford to stay, who will keep this dream running? If even the most devoted residents feel like strangers in their own home, what will tourists see? Perhaps the problem with Dubai is not just in the numbers. The problem is that it was never designed for everyone. It is an elite club with membership fees rising by the hour, causing even those inside to start wondering, is this ticket really worth it? There are things that, even with immense wealth or the most advanced technology, humans still cannot conquer. That is Mother Nature. In Dubai, there is a truth that no air filtration system can regulate: the harshness of the temperature. Summers here now frequently reach 50 degrees Celsius. It's not just a number on the weather report, it's a biological wall. When the air is so thick and scorching that even breathing becomes laborious, every concept of urban experience collapses. The city begins to contract. No more strolls on the boulevard, no more cups of coffee under the morning sun, no more outdoor life. Dubai, a city designed to showcase now, has to escape its own environment. The lives of millions of people are reduced, moving between air-conditioned glass cages, from apartments to cars, from cars to workplaces. As a local resident once bitterly said, "We don't live in a city, we live in a gigantic life support system powered by electricity." As a bitter local once said, "We don't live in a city, We live in a gigantic life support system powered by electricity, but the temperature is just the physical layer. Beneath that lies a more silent, yet ruthless, geopolitical and economic shift. Dubai used to be a magnet attracting three main resources: Russia, India, and the West. But now, these magnets are gradually losing their magnetism. Russia is besieged by geopolitical upheavals, causing the flow of money and people to become unstable. India, a rapidly rising nation, is beginning to direct its resources domestically to create its own wonders. The West, a class of customers demanding authenticity, is gradually leaving behind the repetitive glamour of Dubai to seek out Southeast Asia or Japan. They seek places where culture is not built from concrete blocks, where experiences are real rather than staged. The question posed is very simple yet sharp. If with the same amount of money you can buy a profound memory elsewhere, why would you choose a display stage? One can be impressed by Dubai at first glance, but to remember it with a heartfelt resonance is another matter. And then, the deepest layer of the issue is revealed: the workforce. Dubai does not run itself. It is operated by a silent army of millions of migrant workers. They are the ones who laid each brick for the Burj Khalifa, drove each taxi through sandstorms, and served each lavish banquet. This is the greatest paradox. They are the foundation, but they are never allowed to belong to the building. They built a paradise for which they themselves had no ticket to enter. When the cost of living here becomes unreasonable, when the summer heat exceeds the human body's endurance, and when the hope for a better future gradually dwindles, these people begin to leave. They did not leave in a commotion. They quietly withdrew because they had no other choice. When the foundation begins to fragment, no matter how magnificent the tower is, it starts to tremble. Extreme temperatures diminish the value of the experience. Tourists are starting to seek new horizons. Workers are withdrawing due to the burden of survival. These three currents are converging in one direction: out of Dubai. Dubai still stands there, still radiant under the desert sun, but its internal system is undergoing a major structural surgery. When a city loses both its servants and its beneficiaries, the question is no longer whether it is beautiful or ugly, tall or short. The question is it still a living city, or just a monument to ambition, a magnificent stage without an audience and no actors? Perhaps the story of Dubai is not just about the Gulf region. It is a warning about an urbanization model that defies nature and humanity, reaching its ultimate limit. Are we witnessing the end of a dream, or the beginning of a harsher reality? There is a little-known truth. Dubai is not just built with concrete and glass. It was built on neutrality. For many years, Dubai did not take sides, and that's why. It stands at the center of it all. Russians and Ukrainians buy houses here together. Iranians and Israelis do business here. Americans and Chinese both send money through here. Dubai doesn't take sides. Dubai chooses the flow of money. That's its genius. But every system has a weakness. And the weakness of neutrality is when the world forces you to choose. In 2020, the UAE signed the Abraham Accords, a diplomatic move hailed as historic. And in the short term, it works. Israeli tourists are coming. A new flow of capital has opened up. Everything is still the same as before, even better. But that's just the surface. As global tensions rise, as conflict is no longer news, but an emotion, neutrality begins to crack. One comment read, "Dubai used to be a place for everyone. Now it is starting to become selective." After the recent geopolitical upheavals, some tourists from the Middle East and South Asia have started to change their behavior. Not all, but enough to send a signal. A signal that Dubai is no longer politically invisible. And this is the important thing. Dubai does not completely lose its advantage, but it has lost its certainty. In the past, no matter how turbulent the world was, Dubai remained a safe place to go. Now, it's no longer that clear. One writer, Dubai used to be like the Switzerland of the Middle East. Now it feels like a choice, not a default. When a city is built to serve everyone and starts to no longer please everyone, it doesn't just lose visitors. It loses its identity. And when identity is shaken, everything else starts to be questioned. Why come here? Why invest here? Why live here? This is no longer the story of Dubai. This is the story of a model, a city trying to be everything for everyone. And the bigger question begins to emerge. Can a place remain forever neutral in an increasingly polarized world? Or sooner or later, every global dream must face a choice that they were not designed to make? And if Dubai is just the first example, then what will happen to other cities following a similar path? Dubai has not disappeared. Dubai is still bright, still rich, still impressive. But one thing has changed. The dream that Dubai once sold to the world no longer retains its original form. It hasn't collapsed, it hasn't disappeared. It's just being rewritten. The dream of luxury, but still within reach, is becoming too expensive. The dream of a neutral paradise is being pulled into larger currents. And the dream of a city that is always crowded, always vibrant, is facing a very practical question: who will still remain? And who will still want to come? Someone simply said, Dubai hasn't changed. It's just that it's no longer for us. And perhaps this is not just the story of Dubai, but rather it is the story of every city, every economy, every modern dream built on growth, image, and expectations. So what do you think? Dubai is going through a temporary adjustment phase, or is this a sign of a deeper change? Would you choose Dubai or a less glamorous place, but more authentic? And if you have ever lived in or visited Dubai, does your experience match what we just talked about? Please leave your comments below. I really want to read and understand your perspective. If you like this kind of content, stories that go deeper than the surface, not just news, but what is really happening behind the scenes, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because the next video will go even further. This video is built based on data aggregation, public reports, and perspectives from the user community. The content is analytical and for reference purposes, not intended to criticize or represent any organization, individual, or country. All opinions can change over time and context. The truth is always deeper than what we see. And this might just be the beginning.